Thousands of dogs are sick or dying across North America.
Is the drug that is used to kill dogs and cats in your dog's food?
It was devastating.
It was just the end.
We're in dogged pursuit of answers. Can you be sure you're being told everything about what you feed your dog?
That is immediately a danger, a red flag.
Who fights for Fido when things go wrong?
Dozens of pet bunnies dumped in the wild and left to die.
How are you going to tell your minimum wage employees to answer questions about scores of dogs who have died under your care by simply being groomed? Because you're not training your staff properly, you're not paying them properly, and you're forcing them to push out these dogs like an assembly line at McDonald's.
The pets on sale here felt more like a novelty commodity than a new family member. Baby bunnies dressed up like toys were bagged up to be carried home like groceries. Baby chicks dyed bright colours like picnics in a candy store.
It's as easy as acquiring a cupcake. First, you could either call or SMS the number provided, mostly on Instagram and some free apps. And this is all done in the open. This wasn't an underground website or a forum.
And then you're trying to pay off the owners whose many dogs have died, making them sign non-disclosure agreements so they can't talk about it online or put a class action lawsuit against you. How are you going to tell your minimum wage staff to answer questions about dumpster divers who are finding caged animals alive in your dumpsters? How about the fact that it's not your minimum wage staff's job to answer these questions? J.K. Szymanczyk, CEO of PetSmart, and Ron, CEO of Petco. That is your job to answer those questions.
The length of Monday's accidental attack is unclear. The boy's mother says it lasted minutes. The chief says only seconds.
From her perception, it probably was a prolonged period, but I could tell you if that dog had a prolonged bite on that young child, our conversation may be totally different at this moment in time.
Blue Buffalo is accusing Purina of orchestrating a smear campaign that falsely attacks the quality of its ingredients. Purina is accusing Blue Buffalo of false advertising. Meanwhile, pet owners are stuck in the middle, wondering if they're getting what they're paying for.
You're worse than Michael Vick, you really make me sick.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Here it's Bobby here, and I'm back with another deep dive political activism video. Today I'm going to be doing the evils of like the pet industry as a whole. So that includes pet stores, pet food, anything that has to do with pets. So let's get started into this video. But before we get started, these are the links, these are the pictures of the videos that are related to this topic if you'd like to check them out on my channel. So yeah, let's get started into my YouTube video. Pet ownership in America has experienced unprecedented growth, with a survey showing 70% of households, or 90.5 million, now own a pet. Data shows that the $100 billion pet industry is now poised to nearly triple to $275 billion by 2030. So I briefly want to talk about the animal around pet stores. A lot of people want to claim that it's not true and a pet store wouldn't do that. But the meat industry does horrible things to baby animals and farm animals are not covered under the animal cruelty laws and are not protected by them. So I believe, these capitalist companies are capable of this, because capitalism puts profits over animal lives every day underneath the system that is capitalism. Corporate pet stores such as Petco and PetSmart are responsible for the unnecessary deaths of countless live animals every year. These animals are often thrown away like trash simply because they are no longer profitable or deemed unsellable. In 2021, The Independent and other outlets reported that several live animals, including hamsters and birds, were discovered by dumpster divers in Ohio in the trash cans outside a local PetSmart. Not just this, but fish, reptiles, and also people allegedly dumped hermit crabs outside as well. One former employee who worked at one of these pet chains even explained this is the reason why she quit. The practice of mercilessly practice of discarding and dumping animals in the dumpsters is the reason why they quit. A viral video on TikTok has gone viral recently about a woman showing a TikTok video of finding dozens of live betta fish thrown away in a dumpster right outside PetSmart in Idaho, which has prompted outcry from thousands of social media users. PetSmart claimed this was an accident and a one-time thing, while the company claims this to be an isolated incident. Previous reports say otherwise. So PetSmart has had an epidemic over the past decade of 47 dogs have died during or within days of grooming at PetSmart stores across the country. 32 of the deaths have occurred since the start of 2015, according to the investigation. The 9-month investigation is based on reports by PetSmart consumers in 14 states and found 25 different breeds of dogs have died. PetSmart does millions of groomings a year, the Associated Press reports, so the deaths only represent a tiny fraction of the pets groomed by the retailer. Groomers and veterinarians say grooming anywhere can present a number of potential dangers to dogs, including overheating, intense stress, and rough handling if safety measures are not followed or the employees are untrained.
Walmart employee, she's been looking at us, but she won't come over.
Too loud for me! Trickle, trickle, little star! Find a happy place, find a happy place, find a happy place!
One right there.
That's a Cory catfish right there, actually.
Look at all those Oscars in there. I can't get over that. I have never seen this in all my years. God, the Oscars have terrible color too.
Some of this in there that they have out for that's not even been used for. Stabilize the pH and bring down the ammonia.
Yeah, you could definitely smell the ammonia.
It's disappointing.
Yes, look at this, you guys.
Kois. They get 2 feet long.
Yeah, everybody knows kois. Everybody's seen a koi pond. You guys know how big they are. I mean, these kois, gosh, they're a good 3.5 inches long. And they're all shoved in maybe a 5-gallon aquarium? Maybe? Yeah.
Oh no. Poor little guy.
Fishy! Wake up! Wake up! Animal abuse and Walmart animal cruelty. Walmart puts profits over the well-beings of animals they sell, aka, typical capitalism. Walmart has been accused for several years on and off of pet fish abuse, cruelty, aka animal abuse for fish. I myself have been a victim of this. I bought multiple fish from their store. They were all sick and bad quality. They just sell sick fish to customers, and they have been accused of not feeding or cleaning the tanks for the fish tanks. They also sell abusive fish bowls, which are too small, just to make capitalism profits. Just to make capitalism, a quick capitalism buck. Another woman, Shanera Prasad, saw a photo of a small betta fish languishing in a cup full of dirty water at Walmart store. She knew she couldn't stay silent. That's another person who spoke up about this. I was scammed at Walmart because they knowingly sold me a starving, bad quality sick fish and a fish bowl. That is abusive, just so the fish, can live in a tiny bowl. It's too small for them, just so they can make capitalism profits. Walmart has apparently gotten rid of the fish industry, and I heard they're getting out of the fish industry. I don't know for sure, and doesn't sell them anymore. Allegedly, the mass retailer reportedly announced that it would be pulling all pet fish and live aquatic plants from its own stores. However, the company is letting individual store managers decide whether or not to discontinue this section and practice of their pet department sooner. It appears that many of the estimated 1,700 Walmart stores that carry pet fish have already removed their display tanks. This will undoubtedly come as good news, as many animal welfare advocates, including PETA, and aquarium hobbyists who often accuse Walmart of failing to provide proper care to the animals, aka animal abuse for fish, in their stores, or provide customers with sufficient information, pet information, to care for the new pets. When it comes to other forms of pet dumping and puppy mills, dogs dumped because it didn't match the sofa. Reasons given by rich owners for handing in their unwanted pets to the Dogs Trust include one owner who said, "My dog doesn't match the sofa or my couch. Dogs have been dumped because he would not fit into my handbag or wear the outfit I bought for him." The Dogs Trust 18 rehoming centers had cared for 16,000 abandoned dogs in the past year alone and are braced for a dole of unwanted Christmas presents. The Kim Kardashian family, for example, also has a history of ditching and dumping their animals and pets they no longer want. Shelters face a capacity crisis as pandemic pets got abandoned after an increase in animal adoptions during the pandemic. There is now an overwhelming number of dogs and cats and more being dumped, abandoned, and abused. Dogs seemingly get too ugly for Instagram are being dumped at shelters by owners who want photogenic dog breeds favored by celebrities. So like I said earlier, farm animals are not covered under the animal cruelty laws. Puppies viewed as livestock in Amish communities, says rescue advocate. But some of their perfectly manicured farms are home to a secret dark world and a dark secret. Lancaster County has been called the puppy mill capital of the U.S., and its trade is largely dominated by the Amish. The female breeders live their life producing litter after litter until they can no longer breed. Bill Smith, the founder of Maine Lion Animal Rescue, says that dogs are then disposed of, sometimes euthanized, sometimes shot. It's perfectly legal. On the day Nightline visited, he convinced an Amish farmer to give him a golden retriever who can no longer breed in exchange for some free dog food. The dog, who spent most of her life in a cage, struggled to walk because she wasn't used to the like a normal floor. And that's just common in, the puppy mill stuff. They drag their bodies and walk like crabs because they don't know what it's like to walk on a proper surface. The farmers, Amish, they pull back the heads and they hammer sharp instruments down the throat of the dogs to scar their vocal cords so they can be debarked and they can be more profitable. Breeders can make upwards of $500,000 a year. Amish breeders sell their dogs at auctions and puppies at pet stores. On the topic of pet dog breeding, English bulldogs suffer significant health issues from breeding practices. Scientific research study warns. Experts are now calling for breeders to change their practices and their breeding practice to ensure the longevity of the beloved dog breed. The Mastiff type breed, characterized by its snout structure, wrinkled face, and pushed-in nose, suffers from the very traits many dog owners seek them out for. According to the scientific study published Tuesday in the Journal of Canine Medicine and Genetics, the breed was originally developed as a muscular and athletic dog for bullfighting, but over the years it has been bred to be a show dog and companion breed with a short skull, protruding jaw, skin folds, and a squat, heavy build, according to the study. The breed was found to be significantly less healthy than other dog breeds, with increased risk of breathing, eye, and skin conditions due to their extreme physical features, the researchers found. English bulldogs were more than 38 times more likely of developing skin fold dermatitis than other dogs and more than 26 times more likely of developing an eye condition called prolapsing nictitating membrane gland, also called cherry eyes. The extreme conformization of the body that we force them to live in leads to these huge health issues in the breed. Tail docking should only be justified if backed up by medical reasons and medical science. Having a puppy undergo tail docking procedure just for cosmetic reasons is unacceptable. Declawing cats can cause paw pain, back pain, infection, tissue necrosis, which is tissue death, and lameness. Stop declawing your cats.
The international wildlife trade is worth billions of dollars. In the European alone, it is estimated that the illegal trade was worth 93 billion pounds in 2005, and it increased to approximately 100 billion pounds in 2009. And in the United States, it was estimated to be worth over USD $323 billion in 2009. The trade includes selling live animals as pets.
Many of the animals in the exotic pet trade are taken out of environmentally sensitive areas such as the rainforest. The capture and sale of animals from the wild often includes killing the mother in order to take the young, further increasing the extinction rate of many already endangered animals. Some birds and reptiles, in addition, have a calculated mortality rate that can reach 60 to 50% and even 80 to 90% for reef fish. The loss of animals from the wild is a dangerous outcome since ecosystems and biodiversity as a whole rely largely on animal carriers to spread plant seeds throughout their fur and dung. Animal prey and predators furthermore rely on each other as to not starve from either loss of prey or overpopulation due to lack of natural predators. There is an epidemic of rich influencers showcasing their bougie, pro-capitalism, lavish luxury lifestyles and owning exotic wild animals on social media sites such as Instagram and Tinder. Chained tigers and cheetahs are flaunted next to Lamborghinis, Louis Vuitton bags, and luxury yachts. More accessories to the 1% who can afford them. There's an online marketplace where you can shop for a bear, a tiger, a lynx, or a camel. It's like browsing the racks at Neiman Marcus. Have $6,000 to spend, you could very well take home your own baby sloth. How about a wallaby? That'll cost you $2,500. Arguably, exotic pets are just another commodity available exclusively to the super rich and bourgeoisie. It's time to abolish the police and police dogs. Sick and tired of the gaslighting. You know, these police dogs are victims too. Police canines are grossly disproportionately used against people of color, inflict gruesome lifelong injuries, and often attack people who have committed minor crimes. Police only serve capitalism and capitalism interests, not the poor. They're not a friend of the poor. The four-legged cops who are Instagram stars who also visit schools. Honestly, police shouldn't be visiting schools and brainwashing and indoctrinating children at schools with their fascist police state rhetoric. Civil rights activists call for the end to police dog deployment amid patterns of brutal, unnecessary attacks and extensive investigation led by the Marshall Project last year, examining more than 150 severe bites, found almost none of the victims were armed and most were suspected of low-level nonviolent crimes. Some were innocent bystanders. Among those cases are an Alabama man whose face was bitten off and a 51-year-old man who committed no crime but was mauled to death in Alabama when a dog tore an artery in his groin. Lauren Ferrado was sleeping in an abandoned West Covina, California post office 2 years ago when she woke up to a police dog mauling her arm, according to the lawsuit Lacey filed. The dog allegedly dragged her for more than 40 feet while officers asked her questions before they slung her mangled arm behind her back to cuff her. She underwent 4 surgeries, lost function in her left arm and hand, and was left with permanent deformities as well as extreme psychological distress and a paralyzing fear of dogs and police. That's a circumstance where, in my mind, they give the dog a reward for searching. Here, I'll let you have a chew toy. And that's despicable because no one should be treated like that. The history of police canines in the U.S. is irrefutably racist. Dogs were deployed to chase slaves down and later to quell civil rights protests in the 1960s and 70s. Not only can canines be dangerous, but they are actually pretty bad at some of the jobs they're best known for. Studies show drug-sniffing dogs are accurate less than half the time and tend to alert their handler of illegal drugs to get rewarded, whether or not drugs are present. Even though dogs tend to act according to their handler's basis, their dubious alerts can give cops justification to search suspects. A Washington State police dog even died in 2015 after inhaling meth during a drug bust. This dog should not be used on the police force. Abolish the police, abolish the police dogs. I want to talk about the pit bull ownership and the problematic dog breed as a whole. Nova, a pit bull, a female dog, was a victim of an abusive former owner who dumped her on the side of the road in a cardboard box. She had a nightmare past. Her nipples were literally touching the ground when her adopted mom, Dawn Leslie, picked her up at New York's Hampstead Animal Shelter. Her back bowed down in the middle from constantly being pregnant. Vets had guessed she had been bred and pregnant every heat cycle she'd had in her 4 years or so. Riley Link did a great YouTube video on this topic, and I agree with her 100% of what she said about them. People are breeding them to be fighting dogs or just to make lots of money. Backyard breeders. Cindy Lou, Dottie, Elzamelda, and Nova are just a few of the countless field pit bulls recently bred in backyards and basements in all corners of across America and the country. The reason why we euthanize more than 2,000 pit bulls in the U.S. each day is not just the result of strays having unwanted puppies or people being careless about spaying or neutering their pets. My abusive babysitter owned pit bulls, and they were never spayed or neutered, and neither were their cats, and they were constantly having, like, you know, puppies and kittens, and it was like a backyard, you know, breeding facility, a puppy mill, and they were treating their animals horribly and recklessly. Constantly breeding can lead to genetic defects in puppies and health problems like mammatory tumors and prolapsed uteruses in mother dogs. It always results in more pit bulls who will never find homes and will end up at the pound and probably be put down. Backyard breeding is a lifestyle. People have no shame in it. They buy a dog, and that dog is their sole income source, or most of their income source. By one estimate, an unspayed dog and her puppies will produce up to 67,000 dogs in just 6 years. Soon after Nova was adopted, 3 other dogs with matching DNA and cropped ears were found at the shelter with swollen nipples as well. They were thought to be her own puppies. While backyard breeders are concentrated in usually low-income neighborhoods, their customers aren't confined to any demographic. They could be rich, they can be poor, it really doesn't matter. Then the owners don't want them anymore and pet dump, making the pet dumping crisis even worse. And a lot of these shelters are full, and a lot of these people don't train them, and they become violent towards children and other people, and they have to get put down.
New Year's Eve 2016 was no celebration for Nikki Mail and her family.
They were falling over, they were running into the walls, they were convulsing.
Within minutes of sharing a can of Evinger's pet food among her 5 dogs, she was racing the lifeless animals to the emergency vet.
They said that they weren't sure that what was going on, but it didn't look good.
Hours later, devastating news.
They said that Tallulah wasn't going to make it.
Desperate for answers, they sent the remainder of the food to a specialized lab and drove Tallulah's lifeless body to a veterinary pathologist for a post-mortem examination.
Poisoning from the dog food, that's what killed her.
But it wasn't just any poison. It was pentobarbital, a lethal drug most commonly used to euthanize dogs, cats, and some horses. After months of tests and retests, one brand came back positive for pentobarbital over and over again. In total, we tested 15 cans of Gravy Train. 9 cans, 60% of the sample, were positive for pentobarbital. And while the levels detected were not lethal, under federal law, they are also not permitted at any concentration.
I typed in 9-year-old female Schnauzer dies of kidney failure. And then all of a sudden I saw the site pop up.
He's shocked to find a flood of American reports about sick dogs and chicken jerky.
Owners have reported their dogs have gotten sick or even died after eating certain chicken jerky treats imported from China.
A warning from the American Veterinary Medical Association and from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Its 5th advisory about the jerky treats since 2007. New York woman who started spreading the news. If there's a pit bull in the fight against the pet food companies, it's Robin Pierre. She believes the treats killed her dog Bella, and she's taking matters into her own hands, putting up posters about what she calls toxic treats from China.
With all due respect, you have a theory that is perhaps testable. But what you are asking us to do is probably a multi-million-dollar research project to, one, see if endotoxins are in fact occurring within pet food products. 2, establish what a violative level is. So if that's what you really want us to do, Congress needs to give us a whole lot more money than they're giving us right now.
A popular treat that's making millions for the pet food companies.
So they don't care about the dogs or the pet owners?
Of course they don't. If they cared, they would have had it off the shelves already.
Now on to the pet food, and even the regulatory system itself are all interwoven into a system where industry prevails and the customers and their pets struggle. Mars Pet Care is the top-selling manufacturer, $17 billion in sales in 2016. Mars brand pedigree dog food is 11% of all dry dog food sold in the U.S. It is significant to note that Mars Pet Care also owns the largest veterinary hospital chain in the U.S., Bainfield. Nestle Purina is the number 2 selling pet food manufacturer. Purina brand Beneful is 7% of U.S. dry dog food sales. Purina One brand is 9% of the U.S. dog food sales. Purina also owns Pet Finder, the largest pet adoption website. Smucker's entered the pet food business in 2015. Smucker's took an even larger share of the pet food industry with the purchase of Answorth Nutrition in 2018. Vet schools are in bed with pet food companies. Veterinarians play a huge role in the system as they are the most significant direct access to consumers. Almost 100% of the standard nutritional information provided to veterinarians, initial training in veterinary school, and ongoing training via AVMA educational events comes directly from the largest pet food manufacturers. Veterinary schools receive ongoing financial support from the largest manufacturers, including funding for pet food research. Veterinary Association events also receive funding from the largest pet food manufacturers. And of course, we need to consider the largest retailers of pet food. Looking at PetSmart alone, this pet store chain owns 3 online pet food stores, a veterinary website, 2 adoption/rescue websites, and a pet bloggers association, and very significantly to the regulatory/promotion system of pet food. PetSmart, owned by Chewy.com, is a member of the trade association Pet Food Institute, which gives the largest retailer of pet food in the U.S. a direct role in the regulatory processes. In the fall of 1990 issue of Earth Island Journal, it was exposed what went into the pet food at the time and the dark secrets of capitalism and the food industry. By now, it's probably become obvious that the food industry can be nothing more than a sinister waste disposal vehicle for human food manufacturers and a way to gain capitalism profits from its own garbage. If you check the labels on grocery store foods, you've probably already begun to see a list of ingredients. Doesn't always tell the whole truth about what's actually in the food itself. The same goes for your pet food. Behind innocent-sounding words like meat byproducts and meat meal are horrific manufacturing practices that would turn your stomach. What mysterious meat byproducts really are and what they really mean. The well-known phrase meat byproducts contain little if any meat whatsoever. These are parts of the animal left over after the meat has been stripped away from the bone. Meat meal can contain boiled down flesh of animals that we would find unacceptable for human consumption. This can include zoo animals, roadkill, and 4D, dead, disease, disabled, dying livestock. More shockingly, this also can include dogs and cats. That's right, your pets could be cannibals. Though leading American manufacturers promise never to put rendered pets into their pet food, it is still legal to do so. A Canadian company, Sanimal Inc, was putting 40,000 pounds of dead dogs and dead cats into its own dog and cat food every week until discontinuing this practice in June 2001. How roadkill ends up in Fido's food bowl. The process that turns these animals into the animal parts into the pet food is also disgusting. After all, it takes a lot to turn roadkill into something owners would feel good about feeding and pouring into their food's pet bowls. Ann M. Martin describes the process in Food Pets Die For. At the rendering plant, a machine slowly grinds the entire mess in a huge vat, and then the product is cooked at temperatures between 220 degrees Fahrenheit and 270 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes to 1 hour. The grease becomes a source of animal fat in most pet foods. Oftentimes, when you open a standard can of wet dog food or cat food, you'll see a top layer of fat. After the grease is removed in the rendering process, the remaining material is dried up. Meat meal and bone meal are the end product of this process. This is actually found in most dry pet foods. Chemical dangers lurk in commercial cooking processes, which means these chemicals end up in your pet food and ultimately in your pet. Euthanized cats and dogs often end up in the rendering vats along with other questionable material to make meat meal, a meat and bone meal. This can be problematic because sodium barthopol Preservatives in dog and cat foods keep the food seemingly fresh for long periods of time. Unfortunately, harmful chemical preservatives and other artificial additives to the norm in most cat foods and pet foods and dog foods. Some are intentionally added by the manufacturer, while others come from herbicides, insecticides, and pesticides used by farmers to boost crop yields. There has been countless, pet food recalls and science-backed research studies on what pet food can do to your pet. Here are some examples right here on the screen. One is about a cat disease that cats can get when the fat that accumulates in their body is rancid and it's not healthy fat. And on March 16, 2007, a pet food recall announced by Menu Foods turned into the deadliest recall in history. The FDA received more than 8,500 reports of pet deaths, but some estimates were far higher. The pet food industry at the time told pet owners not to worry about only 1% of all pet foods were infected. 1% of the estimated 60 million pets in 2007 meant that 600,000, almost a million pets were exposed to this pet food poison. Family after family lost their beloved pet loved one in a painful, gut-wrenching way. Another case, a proposed class action lawsuit out of Missouri claims Nestle Purina Pet Care Company knowingly sold pet food products that contain glyphosates, a known human carcinogen. Several studies have found that the dog and cat foods may contain an alarming amount of toxic glyphosate, a biocide and endocrine disruptor linked to liver damage and cancer in animals. The lawsuit cites two studies that reportedly revealed significant levels of glyphosates in Purina pet food products that were well above the level considered to be safe. The studies also noted that effects of exposure to glyphosate can be latent, with symptoms taking a number of years to fully manifest, the lawsuit says. In another case, a pet food firm sues the FDA, wants some salmonella to be allowed in their food. A company that markets raw meat and poultry as pet food is suing the FDA, saying the agency's intolerance of salmonella contamination violates the U.S. Constitution. Winston, LLC, doing business as Answers Pet Food, filed the federal lawsuit in U.S. District Court in Colorado. Answers Pet Food owners contend people should be able to feed their pets whatever food if they choose to do so. The company also says an FDA warning about salmonella in its food was libelous. The agency issued the warning after the company refused to issue a recall. Here are just some of the wage theft and how they treat their employees, as in some of the things that go on in the pet industry. PetSmart employees win $10 million wage and hour settlement. The class action lawsuit again alleged that PetSmart violated state labor law by failing to compensate pet groomers for the time they spent performing non-grooming duties such as stalking or cleaning. These allegations originated from a claim that PetSmart paid its stylist 50% of the net price of a grooming fee, which allegedly fails to cover the minimum wage requirement for non-grooming duties. Additionally, the pet groomers claimed that PetSmart did not reimburse them for grooming tools that were required to purchase. Further, they argued the company did not provide them with suitable seats, had improperly calculated vacation pay, did not provide punctually scheduled payments after employees were terminated, and failed to pay for meal break violations. Settlements have been reached totaling nearly $1 million to resolve allegations they violated district wage laws. Among those settling is a fast-growing doggy daycare and boarding company, District Dogs. The Attorney General Office, the OAG, began investigating the company after getting complaints that tips were not being properly distributed to employees. And on November 16, 2020, Eastern District of New York Judge Eric R. Conway granted preliminary approval for a $1.3 million proposed settlement that ended claims between a pet supply store, Petco, and a class of former employees. The suit was originally filed on June 7, 2019 by plaintiffs. In the complaint, the plaintiffs argue that as a matter of policy and practice, Petco suppressed off-the-clock hours and manually altered the time records of its groomers. The suit argues this was done in order to decrease the record amount of work hours submitted in a bid to reduce groomers' wages for both overtime and straight pay. Federal investigators who visited a Mars pet care plant near Joplin found potential dangers to the health of the employees, but the plant was closed before a follow-up visit could be arranged. And 8 former employees at the plant, which made pet dry food, sued Mars last year, alleging they were exposed to fumigant that caused them to become seriously ill. Employees fired for exposing expired and bug-infested treats. A now former employee of Platinum Pet Treats posted several videos on TikTok showing what he was required to do as part of his job. In one video, he was instructed to remove the expiration date stickers on treats, replace them with new expiration date stickers, and move the expiration date well into the future. In another video, he was instructed to open up a packaged treats that were infested with bugs and bug feces, clean the treats, and place them into new bags. He was fired.